Hello friends! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny, and today you guys are going to be joining me on my reading journey. I thought it would be fun for me to read this one particular book that is very intimidating to me. You probably already know what it is. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to put it in the thumbnail yet, but I don't know if I'm going to read anything along with it. It'll just kind of depend on the timing, whether or not I can get another book read by the time that this vlog needs to go out. The main purpose of this vlog is for me to read Blood Over Brighthaven. The reason I am calling this an intimidating read for myself is because I have read Sword of Kaigen in the past and didn't love it. Don't come for me in the comments. I know that it is beloved and I absolutely think that there is an audience for it. I don't need to say that. The book is very popular and has its own little following. I had my own issues with it. It wasn't necessarily the writing though that bothered me. I do think that personally, I don't view the Sword of Kaigen as a standalone. I view it as a fantasy series that will never be finished because there were so many really pivotal pieces of information that you don't get in that storyline that I was a little bummed by at the end. I also was a little bored with the story, if I'm being honest. I think that the first 50% was really interesting, was really engaging and held my interest, but I started to really want the book to kind of wrap things up. I didn't like the turn that it took at 50% either, so that also kind of hindered my enjoyment of the story. So anyway, long story short, this book, or this author, is one that I have not enjoyed in the past. I know that Blood Over Brighthaven is getting a ton of recognition here on BookTube and, you know, in the bookiverse. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people love it. And I would say that gives me comfort, but it really doesn't, because it was that way with Sword of Kaigen as well, and it wasn't my jam. So yeah, you're gonna come along with me on my journey for Blood Over Brighthaven. We're gonna have a little bit of an intimidating reading vlog. My goal, so I'm going to be happy at the end of this vlog if I have only read Blood Over Brighthaven. That is my goal for this video. But if I have the time, I also would like to read Breeding Sweetgrass, which is a nonfiction book that I've been meaning to read for a while. I also find it intimidating because it is a chunky nonfiction read, but it's one that a lot of people praise. And so yeah, and nonfictions just in general are a little intimidating for me. So if I can get to that, that will be the second book for this vlog. We shall see. As far as just an introduction to Blood Over Brighthaven, if you guys haven't heard of the book or looked into it at all, you are following a woman who is studying magic in a society where women they can study magic, but they can't ever reach the highest levels of society within that realm. So there are high mages within the society and archmages, and no woman has ever become a high mage. There is I don't want to call it a trial, but like a test that they have to take in order to become a high mage, and no woman has ever passed the test. Women can become researchers, but a lot of times they don't end up going into the field because they can't get to the highest point. So we're following a female who is in this university studying magic and has hopes of becoming an archmage. So that's kind of like the general premise. I have read up to 33%. Correction, I've read up to 37%. I had a hard time stopping, to be honest. So that's a pleasant sign. I absolutely loved the first part, the first little clip of the storyline. You follow a character named Tomlin, who is not the main character. The main character's name is Sayana, I think. Tomlin, or Tommel is what his name is. And Tommel comes from an area that you learn about throughout the story, and he is considered a Shin. He has another word for his people, but I can't remember it at this moment in time. Shin is almost a derogatory name, I believe, for his people in the city that we end up in. But Tommel and his people are migrating to a different location, a safer location, and almost abandoning their homeland because something bad is taking over their homeland and they know they can't survive there anymore. And so they are making plans to migrate to this safe haven, Blood Over Bright Haven. And so I really, really, really liked that part. And I think Tamil has become my favorite character in the story so far. I find him very intriguing. I like the fact that he is I don't want to call him a passive person, a patient person. Patient, quiet. He is the type of person that reads the room, that allows others to talk, and just kind of figures people out quietly. I really enjoy characters who have a certain social intelligence, I guess, where he knows that he is the bottom of the food chain in this society. He knows that there are prejudices against his culture, and instead of, he has almost this like quiet, I want to say hatred, and that might be correct. Later on in the story, we might figure out more, but it's like a quiet resistance, I guess, against the man, or, you know, the culture that he has immersed himself in because of necessity. And I really like his character. I find him fascinating. I also enjoy the little tidbits that we get from him as he is introduced to magic and how he relates it to the real world, which is, I think, my favorite part of this story. So Sayana, as I said, is a woman who is in the university learning about magic in a world that really doesn't want her to achieve the highest levels of magic. And it is her goal to become a high mage. And this is in the synopsis, so it's not a spoiler, she does become the first female high mage, but in order to kind of shun her, instead of giving her an actual assistant to help with her studies, they give her Tamil, who is currently the janitor at the university. They think that this is an insult to her, but it turns out to be quite a pairing. And so I've enjoyed their relationship. But to get back to what I was saying, my absolute favorite part about the book is the fact that we as the readers get to learn the magic along with Tamil. I think it's a really interesting way for the author to have put in world building and this magic system to set hard and fast rules in an educational way that doesn't feel info dumpy. Because we are in a university, we are in a background of individuals who are learning, but we are also, along with Sayana, who is a master in her field, who has already learned all of the things that she needs to know. And so it would feel rather forced if she was constantly explaining to the reader what was happening and how it was happening. But because she's working with Tamil, who comes from a different culture, who doesn't have the magical background that a lot of other people would, we get some of those really interesting conversations between them. And because he comes from a different world, he can kind of relate it to things that we would understand, like hunting. And I think that's been my absolute favorite part of the book. If you guys recall, not that long ago, I did a review of The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door. And one of my complaints about that story was that the magic seemed really interesting, but we never actually learned any of it. We had some conversations about how the character was really bright, and then we would skip to her understanding the magic without really having to struggle with it and understanding the different pieces and the dynamics, how things worked together, what the restrictions were on the magic. We didn't learn any of that in that book. And so I love a book that tackles that. That's why I like Brandon Sanderson, because he does also explain his magic systems. I enjoy knowing hard and fast rules and reasons for why you can't do certain things with this magic. There is a religious component to this story as well. We have two main factions that are kind of at war with each other, and we do learn that Sayana is a little bit on the outskirts in that she's been raised in a not so affluent neighborhood, and so she does follow the religion that most mages do not. So that does make her a little unique. But you also have the religion of Tamil's people and the beliefs of a different culture that is completely outside of the city that you get to learn about too, and how that intertwines with the magic system I have found fascinating. I was a little concerned at the beginning of the story that I wasn't going to enjoy Sayana's character because she is quite pretentious at times, a little arrogant, but she's grown on me, which I'm pleasantly surprised by. I thought originally the story was going to be a little too heavy-handed on like woman power, I'm a woman, hear me roar type of a storyline, which I do enjoy, but I want it to seem seamless within the narrative. I don't want it to feel like the author's trying to make a point. I want the story to do that for the author. So, and I think that it has adjusted itself enough. I've gotten used to her character, and I think Tommel is a nice addition to find out why Sayona acts and does things certain ways. So, I am enjoying it, and I'm really excited to continue. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue the story. I will get back with you guys whenever I can. And like I said, if I do have a chance to pick up Braiding Sweetgrass as well, I will update you guys as I go. But for right now, I'm enjoying my time with Blood Over Brighthaven. So I will talk to you guys whenever I have another update for you. I am back with another update for Blood Over Brighthaven, and I'm currently at 68%, and I have to update you guys because I want to keep reading. I will say that this book has flown by. I really feel like it reads really quickly. I think it's a 15-hour audiobook, and I've been reading it over multiple days, but I also have other books going on, and every time I pick this one up, I feel like I have to keep paying attention to like what percentage I'm at, so I make sure and update you guys before I need to move on. I do think that my enjoyment has gone down just a smidge from what it was when I first talked to you guys. I am still really impressed about the magic system, what we've learned. I love the integration of the religious aspects that I talked to you guys about in the last clip, and the relationship and friendship that's grown between Tommel and Sayona. Her name doesn't stick with me for whatever reason. Sayona. And I do think I would have preferred to have a little bit more of that. I know that it is definitely her character. She is not a super personable person, and she really cares about the work. But I do still think that their relationship is an interesting one to see, especially in a work environment. How much she has learned about him and he has learned about her just from working together and really not having a ton of personal experiences with one another, because she has kind of tried to distance herself when it comes to that. So, but I would have liked a little bit more of her kind of letting her hair down, so to speak, with him. I think that would have added more to the story, an already rich story to begin with. The reason I say that my enjoyment has gone down just a smidge is because I do think right now we are leaning in a little too hard on some of the themes. I think that without a doubt, the book has a point to make, specifically about privilege and whether or not that be religious privilege or gender privilege, or, take your pick. Whether or not you come from a wealthy family, if you come from a legacy at a university, like there's a whole bunch of different things that the book has looked at, which I think are really important topics. But I feel like we're pushing into it a little bit too much. I would have liked it to have been a little bit more subtle. And I think it'll depend on how the author wraps everything up on what I feel about what's happening right now. I do think that where the story has gone was very predictable. I didn't say it in the first clip, and I won't say it here because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone if you don't catch it. But I do think that as far as, well, I'm not even going to say. I'm just going to say one of the reveals, the reveal that is very, very significant to the storyline, to Sayona, I did see coming. And it just continues to be predictable as far as like the events that have happened from that one. So yeah, we'll see what happens at the end. We'll see how it's wrapped up, how Sayona's character and Tommel's character reacts to the events that have continued since said event. And yeah, I'm kind of hoping, I don't think this is going to happen, but I kind of hope that something crazy happens and a whole bunch of people die. I'm not going to say what that thing is, but, and I don't know if the author's going to go there. I don't know, but I do think it would be a really interesting story if that did happen. I don't know what the point, I guess, would be if it does, so I don't think that it's going to go that way. I think it would just be something that I haven't seen done before, but yeah, it could very easily swing that direction. But then, yeah, I don't really know like what the quote unquote moral of the story is, if there is one, if that ends up being what happens. So right now it is sitting in the 4-star range. I think when I was talking to you guys before, it was probably 4.25, 4.5-ish, and now it's just sitting at kind of a flat 4-star. I still think it's really fun. It's a quick read. It's really complex. The magic system is really intricate and fun to kind of dive into. So there's so much about the book that I am enjoying. But yeah, the ending is going to be the key to figure out where my rating goes and whether or not, I shouldn't even say whether or not I'm going to look back on the book fondly, because I do think at this point, I'm not sure if there's much the author could do other than just end the story with no ending. I don't think there's much the author could do that would make me hate this book. It is much more engaging to me than Sword of Kaigen was. I have never felt bored in the story at all. And I like the magic in this book significantly better. I also like the character relationships in this book better than that one. I know it's going to be a hot take, so don't come at me in the comments, but it's just my personal opinion. So yeah, I will let you guys know whenever I finish it. And I think that this has been a success, though. For a read that I was really intimidated by, I'm excited that it turned out this way. I am back with another update. I have finished Blood Over Brighthaven. Hey guys, I really liked it. I am shocked, to be honest, because I really did go into this vlog completely thinking I was not going to like this book because of my feelings on Sword of Kaigen and kind of being on the outskirts of like the popularity, I guess, of that book. I know a lot of people who enjoyed it, and I just didn't get on with it. And so I kind of thought this was going to be the same because it does have a similar level of hype. But I'm pleasantly surprised. I can't obviously give you too many details, unfortunately. If you are intrigued in the storyline that I've given you so far, I do think that you should give it a try because I think it's a good read. I like the risks that the author took with the ending in particular. I appreciate it. And I think that's all I'm going to say as far as that goes, because I don't want to give anything away. My favorite aspects of the storyline are still how kind of sciencey the magic is, really getting to know the different elements. I do think, in my opinion, I do think that this book is predictable. I think that you can kind of see where things are going, especially in the middle of the book, but I think that there are just a lot of elements that there's just a framework I feel like we're building on. And I'm not saying that the story isn't original. We all know that every book is made of 1,000 other books, and so nothing is truly wholly original, but I don't mind it being predictable. I think it almost has a certain level of comfort in that. But I do think that if you're looking for a shock value, I'm not sure if this book is going to give that to you. I think that it's very complex in its magic. I also really, really loved the character development. I told you guys at the very beginning that I wasn't quite sure of Sayona. I don't know why her name doesn't stick with me, but I told you guys that I didn't really enjoy her character at first, and she kind of had to grow on me. And Tamil I liked from the beginning, but I still feel like both of them, even though one started out at a almost deficit for me, I think both of them had a really nice character arc that you get to know throughout the story. And yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. So it wasn't just about the science and the magic. We also had this really lovely character development mixed in as well, which is my bread and butter. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's really good. I don't know at this point if I will reread it because of the predictability piece. I don't know though. I could see myself maybe picking it up again and seeing if I catch things that I didn't the first time. I don't know. But for right now, just so you guys know, we can kind of close out this book. I am going to be rating this a 4.5 star. I do think that the themes, the like I am woman, hear me roar type of content, which I do like, I think is a little heavy-handed, especially in the middle of the storyline. But I do think it covers some really important topics within like cultural caste systems and privilege and people stepping on others to kind of get what they want. I do think that those themes are really important to have written and represented in stories, especially in such a well-written and well-rounded way. I do think that M.L. Wang has a way with words, and I was never bored in this book, which is, I don't know how long it is actually physically because I read it via audio. It also read really easily on audio, even though some of the magic systems were very scientific and description heavy. I think that it was easy to listen to. I never struggled with trying to figure out what was going on. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. A 4.5 from me. It didn't quite get there just because of, like I said, the heavy-handedness, but I liked it. So this is a success. I am not quite done with the vlog yet. I am going to try and read Braiding Sweetgrass. I have not started yet, and this video has to go up in about 10 days. And so I am going to try and start it this week and see if I can finish it throughout the week, get my clips done, and then edit it this weekend so it can go out for you guys next week, but we'll see. So I might not finish Braiding Sweetgrass, but you'll at least see me start it in my initial thoughts. So I will see you in the next update. Hello all, I am back to close out this vlog, and I'm sorry. In the last clip, I'm gonna try and see what I can do with editing. I don't even remember what exactly I said. I just know I told you guys that I was going to continue on with Braiding Sweetgrass, and I would get back to you guys after I read some, and I tried to pick it up this week. This week just got really crazy and I wasn't focusing on the book enough, and so I don't want to read it right now because I want to give it the time that it deserves. And it's not a book I feel like I can read quickly and still get a lot out of it. So that didn't happen. So this vlog is just in honor of Blood Over Brighthaven. I'm sorry for those of you who wanted to know my thoughts on Braiding Sweetgrass. That will happen eventually. I will read it eventually and I will talk about it whenever I read it, but just not right now. Right now is not the right time. So to conclude the vlog, I do think that this was a successful reading experience with Blood Over Brighthaven. Blood Over Brighthaven was the inspiration for this video idea because I was very worried that I was not going to enjoy the story. I am really happy that I gave M.L. Wang another try because I will continue to want to pick up her books in the future because this one was fantastic. Thank you guys for coming on this journey with me. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have read this book, what you thought about it, or if you haven't read it, are you going to be adding it to your TBR? Does it sound like something you're interested in? If you aren't feeling chatty, just leave me a little blood drop emoji or a heart with the color red so I know that you guys are here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening and I will see you in the next one. Bye!